It may have taken 29 hours, but we've finally reached our destination and we got here before London is. London's just arrived. Let's see the little fella.
Thank you very much.
Woo! London! Hey! Hello, it's Cooper and Sarah. Are you planning on sending your dog overseas? International pet travel is the most emotional, upsetting and distressing experience a pet owner can endure. Poor London, he doesn't know what's going on. All of a sudden, he's in a van with someone he doesn't know and then they're driving off. So, yeah, it's all pretty upsetting. But it'll be good. In this video, we're going to share with you what we learned and what we wish we'd known before transporting London from Australia to the United Kingdom. Plus, stick around at the very end, you'll see us being reunited with our little puppy London, plus you'll find out all the important information you need to know. Having to hand your dog over to a stranger in a van who was empathetic and understood how upset and distressed we were was still quite heart-wrenching. We were racked with guilt and distressed about being separated from London, which turned out to be around about 5 days. Especially when London looks at us with questions in his eyes. Where are you going? Why are you leaving me? Choking back tears, we said our final farewells and the man in the van slowly drove away. All of us feeling distressed and confused about what had just happened. The experience has given us valuable insight, so if you're planning on sending your dog overseas, I encourage you to stick around.
Yes, we sit here in England with some lessons learned and some maybe warnings to share with you if you're about to do the same thing.
Okay, lesson number 1. Information about flight schedules we found can be elusive.
Yeah, so in the first video, you'll see that we talk about the fact that we got several quotes from the pet carriers that were available to us from our base in Brisbane, Australia. We spoke to the pet carriers, found out about their itineraries and how they run things. Look, the quotes were pretty much all very similar.
Same, yes.
The pet carrier that we chose, we felt the itinerary that we were talked through would enable London to have more breaks.
And what she means by breaks is time out of the crate.
That was all very well and good and did sound like a good idea at the time. Not saying that he didn't have the right or appropriate breaks, but as it turned out, he was actually taken away from us on the Friday morning and didn't fly out till the Monday evening.
Which meant instead of being 2 days separation from us, it ended up being 5 days.
Yes, and so in a foreign environment, also they're pet hotels, but let's face it, I think that most of these places are probably similar to the good old kennels that we grew up with in our demographic. So it's not to say he wasn't looked after, but it was a completely different environment for him. And ahead of a huge international trip, we aren't sure that the length of time that he was separated from us, and also staying probably in confined quarters as it was in the pet hotel or pet boarding, we don't know that it ended up being in his best interest. So the big learning for us was to have dig deeper into the conversations with the pet carriers that you're talking to, because in hindsight, while we thought London was going to get more breaks and be calmer and happier, perhaps a different itinerary that went straight out of Brisbane. So the route we ended up going was going to be Brisbane-Sydney or Brisbane-Melbourne. So it was Brisbane-Melbourne, then to Dubai and England. Had he have gone straight from Brisbane through, say, Singapore to England, maybe if we dug a little bit deeper and had conversations around the exact itinerary, we may have thought differently about the route that we chose. So yeah, huge learning there. Ask probably more questions than we did and really dig deep, because a lot of the answers we were given were, we don't really know what the airline schedules are and we can only wait till right at the end of the month when you get allocated a spot. And it was quite elusive. Potentially, had we asked more questions, we would have been given some more answers where we could have pieced a few more things together to make more of an educated decision around what might have been in London's best interests.
So less stress all around for Sarah, and especially London. point number 2 we looked at is a bit of a warning. The flight schedule that you're promised may be different to the one that you've discussed.
I think the first thing to be really mindful of, though, is this whole situation is one that's very much beyond your control to control. So, that's a struggle for anyone. But we were very much relying on the fact that we had made a decision based on our belief that London would be taken somewhere, given a proper break, given a proper play, meals, walks, then, taken to the next country, same thing, crate cleaned, well looked after, photographic and video evidence all along the way, just to keep us as calm as possible while the situation is beyond our control to manage entirely. Also, it's difficult for the pet carriers too, because they're using partners in different cities around Australia, let alone internationally. Unfortunately, the number of breaks or the length of breaks and the number of walks or whatever may or may not happen. We class it as a warning, because not so much as a criticism for the pet carrier companies, but a warning to you if you're in the same position as us. Some of the situations may not be what you think that they are. That's very hard to sort of take when you're separated for so long, but you've just got to go with it. But again, ask questions, be curious, and be as prepared as possible coming up to the experience as you can be.
Number 3, we've also considered a bit of a warning. Make sure you get in contact with all parties involved.
A lot of the planning and itinerary and agenda is sorted out really very last minute, which is it makes it tough to plan. But we had a sort of a situation or an incident where, as we've mentioned, as it turned out, if a flight is taking pets on a Monday, which is when London ended up booking in for, or was booked in for rather, as he was in Brisbane, they apparently needed to take him on Friday because no one was working in this space over the weekend to be able to take him then or on Monday.
So this meant that London was going to spend 3 days at a pet hotel in Melbourne with people he doesn't know in unfamiliar surroundings.
Yeah, look, it wasn't ideal, and I think potentially we could have been told that was a possibility way further at the beginning of the conversation that we were having, but it only popped up right at the last minute when the Monday flight became a possibility. You have to give a date range of at least 7 days, as in you can't fly with your pet necessarily on the same flight you're on. You have to give a date range when you're making your booking, and you will eventually be allocated a date. If Mondays are days that the flights go out with pets, it's really difficult to pick a date range that doesn't include a Monday. So just a heads up. As it turned out, we ended up having to sort of deal with the pet carrier and the pet hotel or the boarding place wherever he was. We expected that being able to get in contact with especially the pet hotel would be simpler than it was.
But to our surprise, we found it very difficult. We tried to call the phone, it just kept going on a bit of a loop. An email mightn't be answered for a couple of days.
Yeah, and then the clincher, we were trying to organise to pay for extra free time for London, because again, right at the last minute, we saw on the website that he was only probably going to be out for a quick walk or a bit of a break once during the day, which also made us a little bit distressed knowing what was to come for him. So we were trying to get in contact with this pet hotel, and the person on the other end of the email was lovely, but they did request at a late point on Friday afternoon our credit card details to be sent via email. If, of course London could have extra playtime, if we just shot our email, our credit card details through in an email, which of course in 2023 we're not going to do.
And again, we tried to make contact saying, look, we prefer not to do that, and no one got back to us.
Yeah, and so there was pretty much radio silence across the whole weekend about, what sort of access to free time London had. The pet carrier eventually did get back to us on the Sunday evening. Some of the information they gave us at that point in an email didn't line up with some of the information that we'd been given the week before. To be fair, the following day they were very responsive and helpful and kind,
and sent several and some videos of
photos
going for
and conversations. And we did really appreciate those phone calls and photos and things. It felt a little bit too little too late. But again, not to blame another company, our warning to you would be to ensure well ahead of time that you can access contact details of people that you need or might want to talk to, and make sure you can get through to them in good time before, say, a weekend, when some people sign off, even in an industry where you're sort of surprised that happens.
And when you're used to seeing your dog every day and all of a sudden there's 48 hours where you've heard nothing, maybe a random photo sort of a day before, it's really concerning. Okay, number 4, communication. Don't be apologetic about following up. If you've not heard from the pet carrier or the pet hotel, chase them.
Yeah, look, I guess this is a follow-on, isn't it, from the previous point. Don't be shy to get in touch with people and ask for those photos and videos. If you look at all of these companies around the world, they all base themselves on a promise of customer care and customer service, and there are testimonials that say that there are photos and videos sent all the way along the journey, which wasn't necessarily our experience. It's really nice to have someone send you an email to say that London's landed somewhere, but how is he? Can we see him by any chance? You know, we don't mean micromanaging.
Just a simple photo or a little bit of video, because when he flew from Melbourne to Dubai, that was 14 hours in a crate, and he would have had to have been in the crate 2 hours before and probably an hour afterwards. So you're looking at maybe 16, 17 hours where London has been confined to this crate. I just want to see him being released, running around, maybe a shot of them cleaning out his cage, and just see him having fun and stretching his leg, eating some food, getting a drink of water.
We accept that might be difficult across international borders. I'd like to have that conversation up front and have our expectations managed, not to be sold a promise that you will receive videos and images all the way, because we didn't.
We were told once he landed in Dubai, London's arrived, he's relaxing at his hotel. Unfortunately, due to laws, we can't send photos, which we found it quite...
and we would have understood,
weird.
but maybe tell us a little bit way before. It's just a heads up. This is not a criticism of any company. It is a heads up to you if you're a bit shy about following up or you don't want to bother people. Throw out that email or give a call, because when we did, and when we were in Australia and it was a weekday, pet carrier was very responsive. So
excellent communication then.
For some reason, weekends and after hours, again, even though we were sort of led to believe this was a 24-hour business, it seems to be a bit difficult to catch hold of people. So see if you can make sure you get all your questions answered, or have a way of contacting people during the weekend, and just don't be shy to reach out, because someone hopefully will eventually get back to you, as they did for us.
And our 5th and final point, we consider this as a bit of a warning. Make sure you check your dog's health on the other side of the world when they land. Yeah,
look, this is a really, really important one, because you're the only one, or you are the one rather, who knows your pet the best. So the key example here is when we took London on his first walk after he arrived with us and we were reunited. Look, he seemed pretty okay when he jumped out of the car, and he was a bit kind of confused and was more interested in what England smelled like than Australia, and then what we smelled like. When we took him for a walk, we started to notice that he was looking like he was trying to wee, but wasn't. And it did concern us, because we've actually been in a situation previously.
And it started to escalate throughout the afternoon and into the night. He found it very difficult to try to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
He would try for like 3 and 4 minutes and just sit there or stand there with his leg cocked and nothing coming out.
Yeah, and we recognised the signs. We had been in a situation where a beautiful little cat we were looking after,
Lucy,
had a urinary tract infection or bacterial infection.
And she displayed similar behaviour to London, where she was struggling to go to the toilet. It looked uncomfortable.
We recognised the symptoms in London, and it was very lucky Cooper managed to get through to a local vet. We're in a little village at the moment where we're recording this and staying for the minute, and the vet just happened to be on duty that day, isn't here all the time, but was here and did have a 6 p.m. appointment. So we popped in, and she gave us some antibiotics and some pain medication, and she talked through the reasons why. You know, I mean, he could have picked up the infection in a number of ways. It's very difficult to know because we were separated for 5 days, but it also can be a combination of picking up an infection alongside extreme stress. So look, and that's just one example, and again, no one to blame. It's up to us as pet owners to really be really vigilant and keep a good eye on your fur baby's behavior. And outside of general clinginess and anxiety that you can expect, if you spot anything like that or similar, like take action immediately. But there is also some advice. Hopefully your pet is totally fine and you don't need to worry about anything like that. And London was totally fine in a few days with regards to that bacterial infection. It's advised by the pet carriers too that you know, as soon as you can, maybe grab a vet visit where you are, just to make sure there's nothing you need to be aware of in the local area, especially if it's different from where you've come from.
Vaccinations they may need.
Yeah, so just to check your pet over for their new world that they're in.
After 2 weeks, we can finally report that London is starting to settle in. We do believe he's displaying some sort of anxious behaviour, but I think once he gets into a routine, and London's very big on routine, he likes the structure throughout the day, we're sure he'll settle in a lot more.
Yeah, there are definitely some anxious behaviours we've noticed that he didn't have previously, but as you say, hopefully that will be rectified over time and with a routine. If you're relocating to the other side of the world and you can't take your pet on a ship, as we've just met someone who online who's taking their pet on the Queen Mary, was it?
Queen Mary, yes.
Queen Mary from New York to England, and there are some new flights. I think British Air is bringing in a flight between New York and London where you can fly with your pets in the cabin. If you are stuck like us with no other option, it's not ideal.
Transporting a dog overseas is not ideal.
No.
But there's no other way. Like Sarah and I looked up chartering a private jet, and it was something like $112,000.
That wasn't going to happen for us.
I was willing to sell a kidney.
I don't even know if that would have covered it. But yeah, look, there's just no other way around it. We will admit we found it harrowing. To give you some advice, take heed of our warnings in that dig deeper and ask questions. Really be very, very, very curious about everything that they know about the potential itineraries, because we didn't ask as many questions as we should have. But also do know that after a couple of weeks, for dogs, I don't know about cats, although I've had a friend who said their cat was similar, like really clingy for a week, bit anxious, but after like that 2-week period, like rest assured, like I was stressing for the first 2 weeks because I'm like, we've destroyed London's personality. He's so anxious and he's not the same. But he's definitely coming back to his little playful self now.
Woo, London! Hey, little man! Hey, hello, darling! Oh, we missed you, puppy. Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks, mate, for getting here. Woo, little London! Hello! Come here, my baby. Are you excited? Hey, hey, come here. Woo, what's going on? What's going on? Woo-hoo. Oh, my baby. Hey, oh, exciting. Hello. Hey, thanks for getting me here safely, mate. Hey, oh, baby. Hey, you all hungry? Did want some food. We're going to introduce another surprise for you.
So we promised you video evidence.
And before we go, we need to introduce our little London. This little fella brought us so much stress, a lot of tears, but we're happy to say, look, he seems to be okay. Hey, buddy?
Yeah.
Hey.